We welcome now Ricky Mathews, SuperTalk Mississippi host, Coast View, and SuperTalk Outdoors. Hey, Ricky.
Hey, Gerard, how are you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm doing fine. The question is, how are we doing down there on the Mississippi Gulf Coast with a storm moving in?
Well, so far, actually, so good. We've, obviously it's been steady, relatively light rain, and very little rain, very little wind. Just a little gust here and there. But it's a long way away. We're not supposed to get into some of the more brisk wind and more heavy rain until later this evening. So I think from this point forward, it just continues to ramp up.
I know this is something you diligently track, always do during hurricane season, and provide frequent reports in your social media accounts. I see them. So what's the latest? What are you seeing?
Well, I think the good news is that the storm started to get impacted by the dry air and the upper level atmosphere, because we knew there was some wind shear that was going to affect it as it got closer to the coast, and that appears to be happening. It's holding around 90 miles per hour. They've gotten some gusts well over 100 at some of the oil rigs off of Louisiana. And it's really maintained in fact, it's actually developed a pretty significant eye. Josh Morgan, who you've had, I think, on your show before, the top hurricane chaser in the world, who lives in Bay St. Louis during the season, was down in Morgan City. It is down in Morgan City, but he posted on X that he may have to move because it looks like it may be going to the right of Morgan City. There's been this discussion about whether it's going to go a little bit more to the east than they expect it to. It's a really big eye, too. So if it does do that with this really large eye, it could actually impact some of coastal Mississippi a little bit more than what they had planned. But I think, it's way too early to say we dodged a bullet, because we don't know about flash flooding. We don't know about tornado threats. Storm surge is still going to be an issue, 4 to 6 feet. But it could have been worse, that's for sure.
I started the show off today talking about Mississippi Emergency Management, MEMA. And they've got just an abundance of information already. They do a great job of publishing important information on their website just concerning the storms. Down to the county and municipal level, what they got going on. So fantastic. But looks like they're ready to go. I've seen Entergy and Mississippi Power have all made announcements. They've got crews on standby, staged, ready to go. There'll be summoning help, or actually usually help is volunteered from the neighboring states as well. So hopefully this thing won't do too terribly much damage. I've seen the same reports that the expectation of wind shear may be taking some of the punch, at least out of the strength of the storm, and hopefully that will continue to be the place. What about availability of gas and food and so forth down on the coast? Are you seeing folks make the traditional run?
Really well. In fact, I had Mayor Billy Hughes from Gulfport on this morning, and Mayor Jay Trapani from Waveland, and then the heads of the emergency management systems in Hancock County and Harrison County, both Brian Adam and Matt Stratton. And you mentioned MEMA. The way all these organizations work together, they've really got it down to, they understand it. It's very finely tuned. The citizens, as a general rule, unless you're new to the area, they know what to do. They got to go get water, and they got to prepare as if, power may be out for a day or two. One thing that we don't know yet, but, even though the winds may not be significant in coastal Mississippi, man, it's been raining. I went out to check one of my rain gauges, which I emptied before the big rain comes, and it already had 4 inches of rain in it from yesterday.
Wow.
So, it's the grounds are really saturated. And so you get some decent gusts in that scenario, and you're probably going to see a lot of power outages. I think that may be one of the biggest issues that we face.
Yeah, hoping not. The crews do a fantastic job of honestly working around the clock to restore power, and hopefully folks will be patient. I have noticed, certainly around this part of the state, in anticipation of the winter, they've been out trimming the limbs around the power lines, and it doesn't have to be winter for those limbs to fall on those power lines. A gust of wind obviously can do that as well. So I am concerned, Ricky. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on this, about how the drought just decimated so many of our pine trees last year, and how they're vulnerable to falling, and that could cause problems.
No, I agree. You know, when I think about agriculture in Mississippi, not just farming, but also forestry, and how it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for our state. You think about, to some extent, the point that you made about pine trees and how they might be susceptible. You think about farmers. I talked to Travis Dunn, one of our farmers, just a few minutes ago, and man, they worked to midnight last night. They're working to midnight again tonight, at least as long as they can before it starts raining, getting as many soybeans out as they can, the ones that are ready. They can get a little wet, but you don't want them to get too saturated. The bigger concern is the cotton that's been sprayed that's not quite ready to take, that's going to get really wet. So, you don't want cotton to get major saturated just at the point where they're about to pick it. So we need to pray for our farmers, and because they've really had a good harvest season. It's been nice and dry, a little bit of rain here and there, but they've done really well.
Yeah. So with little time we got left, what did you think about last night's debate? You've been talking about that analyzing that today?
You know what's interesting? Listen, I think Kamala came in prepared. I think that Trump, he didn't prepare the way that you hoped that he would. He missed some opportunities. He missed some real big opportunities, but he was being Trump. When you look at some of the studies that I've seen just based on last night, how independents reacted to it, I don't think that she moved the needle a bunch with independents. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think her base is fired up, and she didn't make the big mistake. And we're a little disappointed, and maybe how Trump did, that he missed some real opportunities. But did he hurt himself? And did he hurt himself with independents? I'm not seeing anything that said he hurt himself with independents. So it'll be interesting to see when big surveys come back if she gets a bump from it. I don't know how much a difference it made.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, Rhino shared with me some information on the break from the New York Times, which indicated that apparently it wasn't too terribly persuasive in moving the needle with the independents. I think they want to see more, honestly. Unfortunately, that particular debate, I don't feel like we got a lot of substance. You come away saying, where do these people stand on the key policies? I don't think we know today. And my guess is the independents are saying, I need more information to make this decision. Is that kind of the way you see it?
Well, her base went in there with such low expectations. They were just hoping she could survive. And when you watch it, some of the major media, their reactions to it, they're literally gushing about it. Even though she evaded the answers to the questions, she didn't tell the truth a lot. Sometimes he didn't tell the truth. I think as a voter, we're all wishing that they would just get back to being honest and talk about the issues and let us decide based on that. But we're in a new world as it relates to the polarizing politics, that is for sure. At the end of the day, I'm not sure she moved the needle very much with the people that she needed to move it with, but we'll see. We'll see as things progress.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So do you think we'll have another debate? I know Fox has extended an invitation.
Yeah, I think she's made it clear she's not going to Fox. I'd be very surprised if she went to Fox. I was super disappointed with the way ABC handled this. David Muir, listen, I'm not a huge fan of Trump, but I am a fan of his policies, and I've got real issues with the current administration. But ABC, man, David Muir is the one guy that you thought could toe the line down the middle. I just don't like the way they handled this debate last night. I mean, it was just it was clearly biased.
I agree. Can you remember seeing a presidential debate where the moderators sort of function as fact checkers?
Yeah, it's not good. But only one side.
On one side, right.
Was the fact checking happen? No, it's really, you're supposed to let them talk and let the voters decide, but this challenging and the nature of the negativity of the questions. My wife Ann made an observation that the one big question that was asked her, all of her policies were wrapped up into one question as opposed to a series of exploratory
good
questions. It was super disappointing in that reality. I mean, we didn't really learn anything, but she fired up her base. Some of us, who might be voting Republican, were a little disappointed with the way Trump handled it. But at the end of the day, the sound bites that are going to come out of this are what people are going to remember, and I don't think there's enough there to change anything at this stage of the game.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Ricky, appreciate you coming on and giving us an update. Stay safe down there as this storm moves through.
Okay, buddy. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We're coming right back, folks, with a final segment from the Element Wealth studio.